An entire generation did exactly what society told them to do. Go to college, get the degree, work hard, stay disciplined, build a career. And yet, millions still feel financially trapped. Not starving, not unemployed, just constantly anxious about money, about the future, about whether life is actually getting better. And what makes this so strange is that modern economies look successful on the surface. Stock markets hit records, technology keeps advancing, billionaires get richer every year. But underneath all of it, something feels broken. Because for millions of people, the future no longer feels stable. It feels temporary. So how did this happen? How did an entire generation lose trust in the economic system that was supposed to reward them? And more importantly, what happens to a society once people stop believing the rules actually work? For most of the 20th century, the economic formula looked simple. One stable career, one home, one retirement plan. That was the dream. And for many people, it actually worked. A factory worker could support a family. A teacher could buy a house. A single income could build a middle-class life. But by the late 1980s and early 1990s, the system started changing. Quietly at first. Factories moved overseas, automation replaced workers, corporate mergers exploded. Meanwhile, the internet arrived and accelerated everything. Suddenly, the economy moved faster than human beings were psychologically prepared for. Entire industries disappeared almost overnight. Stable careers became unstable. Long-term employment became shorter, and loyalty inside corporations slowly died. Companies realized something important. Cutting workers boosted profits, and Wall Street loved profits. So layoffs became strategy, efficiency became obsession, quarterly earnings became more important than long-term stability, and younger generations grew up watching all of it happen in real time. That mattered more than people realize because childhood shapes expectations, and millions of young adults were learning one core lesson very early. Nothing is guaranteed anymore. But at first, the new economy looked incredible. The internet created a wave of optimism unlike anything America had seen in decades. Tech startups appeared everywhere. Investors poured in money. Young founders became billionaires overnight. And suddenly, everyone believed opportunity was unlimited. You didn't need connections anymore. You just needed an idea. Then came smartphones, then social media, then the creator economy, and the excitement intensified. People were no longer comparing themselves to neighbors. Now they compared themselves to the entire world. Every scroll showed someone getting rich, trading stocks, launching businesses, buying luxury cars, traveling first class, living lives that looked perfect online. And slowly, wealth stopped being something private. It became performance. Success became visual, not just something you achieved, something you displayed. And companies adapted immediately. Influencers sold lifestyles, apps sold convenience, banks sold debt, platforms sold attention. Everything became monetized, even identity itself. Meanwhile, interest rates stayed low for years. Money became cheap. Credit became easy. People borrowed more. Companies borrowed more. Governments borrowed more. And asset prices exploded. Homes skyrocketed. Stocks surged. Crypto created overnight millionaires. It felt like the economy had entered a permanent boom. But underneath the excitement, there was a problem nobody wanted to talk about. Because much of this growth wasn't built on stability. It was built on leverage, debt, speculation, cheap money, and endless optimism. And history has a habit of punishing systems built entirely on optimism. The modern economy created a strange illusion. People looked richer than ever before, but increasingly they owned less. Homes became 30-year debt contracts. Cars became subscriptions. Education became lifelong loans. Even basic lifestyles required financing. Meanwhile, wages struggled to keep pace with living costs, especially housing, especially healthcare, especially education. And slowly, millions started realizing something uncomfortable. They weren't building wealth, they were renting survival. That realization changed psychology.
Because ownership creates security, but permanent payments create anxiety, and anxiety changes behavior. People delayed marriage, delayed children, delayed home ownership, not necessarily because they wanted to, but because instability rewires priorities. At the same time, work changed again. Previous generations often expected careers. Modern workers expected disruption. Layoffs became normal, burnout became normal, job hopping became survival strategy, and side hustles exploded everywhere. Not because everyone loved entrepreneurship, but because depending on one income source suddenly felt dangerous. The economy trained people to think defensively, always preparing for the next crisis, always expecting the rug to get pulled out. And then the crises actually arrived. First came the dot-com crash, then the 2008 financial crisis. Millions watched banks collapse. People lost homes, savings, retirement accounts. And the psychological damage ran deeper than the financial damage, because people realized something disturbing. The institutions that were supposed to protect stability were fragile too. Then came years of rising inequality. The wealthy recovered quickly. Asset owners became even richer. Meanwhile, ordinary workers struggled to catch up. And eventually, many stopped believing hard work guaranteed success. That belief used to sit at the center of capitalism. Now, people believed leverage mattered more than labor. Assets mattered more than effort. Ownership mattered more than loyalty. And once that belief changes, society changes with it. Then social media intensified everything. Every platform became a comparison machine. Someone younger was richer. Someone smarter was scaling faster. Someone else retired at 32.
The pressure became constant, and the economy adapted again. Algorithms learned how to monetize insecurity. Luxury content exploded. Productivity culture exploded. Self-optimization became obsession. People tracked calories, sleep, steps, habits, income streams. Rest started feeling unproductive. Relaxation started feeling guilty. And burnout became identity. Meanwhile, companies discovered something terrifying. Financially anxious people spend emotionally. So entire industries formed around impulse consumption, food delivery, fast fashion, buy now, pay later, microtransactions, subscription services. The more uncertain people felt, the more they consumed temporary comfort, and the cycle fed itself endlessly. Then, inflation arrived, and suddenly, the illusions started cracking. Food prices surged, rent exploded, interest rates jumped, debt became expensive, and millions realized how fragile their financial lives actually were. Credit card debt hit records, savings collapsed, layoffs returned. But this time, something felt psychologically different, because people weren't just losing purchasing power, they were losing belief. Belief that life would steadily improve, belief that stability was achievable, belief that the future would feel safer than the present. And once societies lose belief in the future, fear starts shaping behavior more than optimism. People become more tribal, more cynical, more emotionally exhausted, not because they're weak, but because uncertainty changes the human brain. Eventually, survival mode becomes permanent. The real story of the modern economy isn't just inflation or debt or technology, it's psychology. Because economies do not run purely on money, they run on belief. Belief that effort matters, belief that tomorrow can improve, belief that stability still exists somewhere ahead. And once enough people lose that belief, the consequences spread everywhere. Relationships change, politics changes, communities change, identity changes, even the definition of success changes. Maybe that's why so many people feel exhausted today without fully understanding why. They aren't simply trying to earn money anymore. They're trying to survive psychologically inside a system that constantly demands more attention, more productivity, more consumption, more optimization. And the strangest part? The system may actually depend on that anxiety to keep growing, because modern capitalism discovered something incredibly profitable. Insecure people consume more. And in an economy built around endless growth, insecurity might be the most valuable product of